Welcome back, everybody. UC Fresco right here. New episode of the Mixed Minds, Down to the Soul. We have a very special guest today from Queens. Let him introduce
Man.
himself today, right now.
Yes, sir. FK47 coming out of Cambria Heights. Very, very glad to be here with Down with the Soul.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. All right, so let's just get into it, man. Let the people know a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a producer and engineer. I started my career around June 2016, being an intern at Platinum Sound. I figured the best way to make my rounds as a producer was to take a position where I was working on the music. So I build a respect and build a rapport with artists. So I did that and moved up from intern to assistant to engineer, and it was all part of a plan to just get my beats out. Then you know, got up to working with artists like Future, Playboi Carti, things like that. But my biggest accomplishment there was when I produced a song for Rich the Kid that has not been released since. But yeah, so that's just like a short background of what
Yeah, no,
I've done so far.
I was studying up a little bit, so I definitely saw you in all those studios, but I wanted to touch on that a little bit later. First, I just want to get into a bit of your background. And so what were some of your baby steps just getting into music in general?
Well, it all starts with my oldest sisters. My oldest sister was taking piano lessons at the time, and destiny happened so that my piano teacher was up the block from me. So it's like we used to just walk over there Saturday mornings, as early as age 5. I would just be with her. And then on the other side, she taught me how to download music from an early age. So I started downloading albums on LimeWire as early as 7 years old. I've always had this interest in rap, but I didn't really think I could do it till my teenage years, later on.
What made you think that you could do it?
Well, my bro here, I was in school trying to be an accountant. I was a business admin major, and it's my best friend, man. It's my brother for real, my right hand. We was living together, and towards the end, I started making beats, and my beats were nowhere near the point they are today. But he used to just tell me, if you put in the right kind of effort and you do this in a constructive way, you might have something here. And ever since then, I've just been honing my craft, comparing my mixes, comparing my drums, melodies to people, and I formulated my own sound.
That's what's up, man. So, what software did you first start off with, and what was it like getting really a fundamental knowledge of that? Were you able to apply a bit of music theory that you learned in piano, and just picking up notes and scales from that, and then applying it to whatever software you're using?
Yeah, I've always been on FL Studio for real, just following the steps of Southside. My influence Southsides and Boy Wonders and Metro Boomins. But when it comes to the music theory, that all comes down to your style. I mean, yeah, it comes down to your style and your upbringing as a musician. There's musicians that admittedly don't know music theory traditionally, but make some of the best beats you'll hear. So it all depends on what you plan to accomplish as a producer for real.
Right. Now, were you really following music theory at first when we first started doing it, or was it a bit of a learning curve for you?
Playing so many instruments, it was really coming down to just matching up what I wanted to do with the technology. You know what I'm saying? Just so, yeah, you apply your music theory in the art you create. So it's all down to just learning how to use the software at that point.
That's what's up, man. Now, how did you task yourself to really mature from being a student of the game? Somebody just going to piano lessons and going to school time by time, and really, really honing yourself into it, and being forever in it.
You never stop being a student of the game.
Yeah.
I'll always be a student. I don't even believe in mastering.
Right.
I just always want to be in that place where I'm learning. But, you build a curiosity for what you want to do. You want to expand your abilities. You want to, push certain envelopes. You get bored of doing just the default things, and that's how you grow as a producer for real. You just end up wanting more, and that's really how you push your creativity.
Yeah. Now, what were some of the ways that you kept it exciting for yourself? Because, every path is one that comes with peaks and valleys. As you mentioned, you were studying a couple of different things, so it might have been easy to veer off into something else, or maybe just kind of see the window shutting, if anything. So how did you really keep yourself in it?
Well, one of my biggest focuses is doing it in a constructive manner. Even leaving college, I still made the time to get my real estate license and work on Wall Street for a little bit. So I knew this was gonna come with certain ups and downs and left field turns. So it's just part of the game. It's part of it's part of the game. You just gotta accept it for what it is. Every producer has that story, their horror stories or whatever. So
Right.
you just take the good with the bad.
Right. Now, getting into a bit of your experience in that professional setting, as you mentioned, seen that you work at a lot of different studios. So, how did you really relish the moment and kind of keep your head in the game? Because I know it could be a bit easy to, sometimes you work with your idols and you could become a bit jaded. It's not what you think it is, or maybe their work ethic doesn't rub off the same way. So, how did you really keep yourself uh, at a high level?
Well, I just always wanted to challenge myself, and I always had a curiosity for what how a studio session goes. So in my early days, I just really paid a lot of attention on the do's and don'ts, and I just applied them to how I move as a musician, as a producer, engineer. You just learn the boundaries naturally because you have your own boundaries too. You wouldn't cross yourself.
Right.
So
So, what was the biggest don't that you learned from engineering all the sessions, or maybe even producing as an in house?
a lot of things could ruin a session. I wouldn't say the one don't. Probably being too pressed to play beats. There's a certain like if the producer's already in the room and it's like their session, I don't want to ruin their synergy. So a big part of what I had to do was wait for certain opportunities to come naturally, and that's when that you have to be prepared for to get a record done.
Yeah. Now I know mixing or engineering, it's one that requires a little bit more discipline than producing, just because the basic fundamental knowledge is a bit more, it's more technical. So what was the way that you were able to stay patient? Because I know it's just vastly different, producing sound and then engineering one, and then having to sit there as the producer, but also keeping your ear as an engineer.
Well, I just try to check off the basic fundamentals of being a recording engineer, like not distorting the vocals, adding certain moments in the mix, things like that. I never put too much weight on engineering, but I always gave it my 100% focus. In my mind, I'm always thinking about production and different things I want to do and how I can apply what I've learned in engineering to my producing.
Right. Now, were you mixing your own music, or was it a bit of a means to an end as to, keep that door open?
I feel like my engineering was just sharpening my production. I think that's the link between the two. But I mean, you part of if not all of a good beat is the mix.
Right.
Like no one really says this is a great chord progression that this producer is. Like, nah, this shit bang.
Right.
Shit going hard. You hear that bass, like shit like that. So it's like, yeah, my engineering, I always wanted to go hand in hand with my production, and like my progression in both has to be like constant.
So you're self-taught in both, or was it a bit of like YouTube University kind of thing?
YouTube University, hell yeah, and interning.
Okay.
I learned engineering from some of the best engineers in New York City. Shout out to Crystal, Nice, Chris G, Renee, all the people I came up with. It was just like I was just in a dream situation, but I really just seized the moment and always tried to pay attention, always tried to be good at whatever position I was holding at the time, whether it be a runner, an intern, running a session as a producer, doing a mix. Like I just always do things to 100%.
Now, what were some of the ways that you put yourself in a position to be recognized by those names that were able to put you in a studio like that, or in a setting like that, or give you the opportunity to be an intern? Because a lot of people, they have the talent, but sometimes they just don't get outside like that.
I mean, I just know how to move in general. So
Right.
and I had a pretty good college and high school like resume, so I could get there on the basis of technicality too. So yeah, I just always thought, let me get myself into the real thing.
Right. Now, did you do it through just a regular application, or was it more so you were recognized through your music already, and it was kind of mutual friends linked?
Nah, actually, the owner of the first studio I worked with is Jerry Wonder, and he's like we're like third or fourth cousins or something like that. So my pops put in the word for me. He kind of was the one to suggest that to me, as because my goal was to do this constructively. You know what I mean? I didn't see at the time like how it would facilitate my sound like into the Queens underground scene, because I wasn't in tune of what's going on at the time. So I was
Right.
just like, let me be the one to go in and facilitate what I want to do through the industry and try to be like a place where I could bring up Queens rap from my standing. I I didn't see an artist where I could produce for at the time that we would like grow together and have an organic buzz and be in the mainstream. I think someone had to, you know, put their like stamp on the industry and come in like that and help the other people in the underground. And that's what I plan to do.
All right. Now, a long time coming. That's your first project out on Apple Music,
Yes, sir.
Spotify, everything like that, I could assume. So what were some of the steps that you felt were necessary to take to drop that project? Obviously the title speaks for itself. It was a long time coming.
Yeah, I had a lot of records that, didn't fit into certain projects for other artists or things that I just wanted out myself. So I was just like, you know what, let me orchestrate this like good mix of songs that I have out in a good track list. Beats that are different. Now, I don't want one track to sound like the other, so I kind of like chose different basses and different feels. I got some trap vibes. I have more traditional jazzy type of vibes with What You Want. I have power guitar chords and Beautiful by Flea, which is a crazy record. Shout out to Flea, he's going crazy right now.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I just wanted to prove my versatility and what I bring to the table as FK47.
Yeah, and you had a few different names bounce around on that project, but one staple on it was definitely, I don't want to butcher his name, but it was Yo. I'm going to call him that for now.
Hey, Your Highness.
Yeah, there you go. I didn't want to say it wrong. So
My
there you go.
God.
So what was it like building a bit of a bond with him? Because like I said, he was kind of like the binding factor of that album in a sense, like sort of
Right.
the spine.
Yeah, he's definitely the featured artist of that project. We met through an engineer I was interning named Mooch. Shout out to Mooch. He's doing a lot of great work out of Richmond, Virginia. Y'all should definitely check him out. Mixed by Mooch. So that was like the artist he was mixing for and learning how to mix with. And I just heard his music. I was like, yo, we should link. And then he ended up moving to New York. And then once we met, we clicked it off easily, and not even on some music shit, like just as like two dudes. And then started working on music. We did this one track called Window. That's gonna drop later on. But it's like, it was amazing. Then we just built this rapport, and we ended up stockpiling about 12 songs, and I dropped 3 of them.
Okay. Now, what is the bit of that decision making process? To keep one in the vault, put one out for now, maybe to get a little bit of buzz, because I'm sure that you might be a little bit eager to put out one because that's really a fire song. You know what I mean? But you might want to keep it reserved, for a bit of a higher spotlight.
Yeah, it was all up to him what records he would allow me to use. I was real respectful with that. Like, it had to be records he didn't have a set agenda for. But at the same time, I did want to introduce him to like the New York scene, being from like Richmond, Virginia, coming out of Grand Rapids, kind of bounced around. So I wanted to introduce him to like the Brooklyn Queens scene and try to see where his reaction would be from there.
Right. Now, as far as just the general artist building, because you definitely have a few different names on there, like I said before. How do you even go about that? Whether it's building with somebody from Virginia, or across the country, or even if they're in a neighboring zip code.
First I would, try to get records done, get a feel for it. Now we have technology. You could like FaceTime. You could even team viewer a session, which means like I could open a session up on my computer and someone can control it from their computer from another code. Technology plays a big part, whether you're like sending sessions out or sending stems, stuff like that. I would just organically collaborate first and then, try to get a link up in person for, working on the music together.
Right. The organic growth is definitely essential. And I see that you have your name right at the bottom of that album as well. So what steps have you taken to really creating autonomy for yourself, putting out your music?
Yeah, I have my name at the bottom because I distributed it through my publishing from DistroKid. But I just felt like I just wanted to be heard at that time. You know what I mean? At the time I dropped it, so I was just like, let me get this mixed by my peers. Like my guy Mooch did an awesome job with the mixing. It was mastered by Crystal. I had everything in place to drop, so I just dropped. You feel me?
Yeah, no, I hear that. So there's a lot of politics involved with it from time to time. As you mentioned, the Queen scene is it lacks a distinct sound at the moment.
I wouldn't say that. I would say that about then. Now there's definitely been like a certain wave. Like you got Flea.
Flea's going crazy. But
Flea
he has
sound,
his own sound.
Yeah, and you have
I mean?
YTB
Nobody
who has
sounds-
their own flow, lingo,
Right.
and production with Cash Cobain. So it's like now it's a little different. We just gotta break certain molds. But I think overall we're heading in a good direction. You know, Shawnee just got signed. I think the Def Jam Fleek just got 200K views with Brent Fayez.
The Switch is a big record right now.
Yeah, Switch is
Switch is a
going
very big
crazy. It's
record.
good to see because, you know, we all been grinding for a little minute. You know, I'm just happy for everybody just out the borough, and I just want to spearhead this movement for real.
Yeah, definitely. But it's like a lot of people they want camaraderie, but at the same time they distance themselves a little bit because, as you mentioned, a few of those artists they have their own distinct sounds. But I don't know. I think that a lot of people they follow it more when it's more uniform, as it would be, say, a Bronx or a Brooklyn, for whatever reason it might be. That's not. I'm not showing a bias or anything like that, but people just follow it a lot more. So, what's your take on that?
I think a strength in numbers is good, but at the same time, everybody's trying to make their stamp individually. So, you know, sometimes the divide just comes out naturally. Everybody's just locked in doing what they got to do, fending for themselves. You got the New York mindset kind of engraved in that anyway.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, people just be in their own zone, and rightfully so. We all trying to make a way.
Mm-hmm.
So enjoying myself. You enjoy yourself, Brody? Introduce yourself.
Yeah, this is manager right here, everybody. I know
Manager, best friend, my right here, man.
I'm Cam Styles, FK47 manager, best friend, no verse. For all of this happened, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but I'm proud of my guy. He's doing his thing. Straight out of Queens.
Now, long term, what's kind of a goal that you guys are building for yourself with this? Two is a bit of a small number to start off with. So what's something that you can see yourselves building out of it?
Like there's me and him just I mean, we have our goals in fashion and music. We just trying to combine them. If you wanna like compare it to anybody, it'd be like a Kanye West Don C thing we got going on. Like he has his clothing line that he's wearing right now.
We need a name for that. We need a name for that.
And that's DPRC. That's the game right there.
Yes, sir.
DPRC, is that going to be on Instagram? Is that the Instagram tag that they can find it? Because I'm dropping everything right there.
DIZONPR. That's the Instagram right there.
All right.
Yes, sir. But yeah, you know, I'm trying to make my stamp with the production. He's making his stamp with the fashion. We just intertwine. What he does, I'm gonna support. What I do, he's gonna support.
Right. Now, outside of behind the boards, because as I see now, you guys are definitely putting yourselves in a position to do that. So I was really gonna ask, how have you been positioning yourself to make an impact outside of the music?
Yeah, I mean, I do like photo shoots for like showing off my style. Like as I grow older, I'm into like fashion a little more. I've always dressed pretty well, so I've been working on expressing myself in that realm the last like 8 months.
Right. Now, a lot of that comes with a lot of expenses because I try to do something similar with Down So I don't try, I do. This is my own hoodie.
Yeah, but I gotta have the drip, man.
Yeah, no, I hear that.
Tell you too, man. It's a way of expressing myself, just like music, man. I gotta have I gotta present myself a certain way, man.
Yeah, but more so, I'm talking about the creative process when it comes to the funding and things like that. What are some of the brick walls that you guys might have found so far, as far as whether it's in the production process, post production, pre production, whatever it might be? What's some of the things that you guys have had to climb over and really get over the hump?
Pre-production of the music or the clothes?
Clothes or whatever else it might have been outside of music that you guys have been getting into.
I think we've just always had a synergy. We knew this was going to take a certain amount of time, so I don't think we consider the ups and downs as roadblocks.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've fully just accepted the peaks and valleys, but we keep this constant theme of progression. So it doesn't really matter as long as we know we're getting closer. He dropped a couple lines in the last 2-3 years. He's been grinding hard, just saving up for the next wave. I've been making beats, engineering my sessions. We've just been on the same page.
Right. Now, as far as the platform, are you guys looking to make something that's one together, or do you want to keep it the separate houses, whether it's...
No, my merch is basically going to be ran to his line.
Okay.
And everything I would do for him, you know what I mean?
Yeah, everything's intertwined in some way, bro. He might fuck around and get some co-production on a track.
Right.
You feel me? Like, yeah, everything we do is intertwined.
I was in that room when he first started making them beats, so I know how his creative process, it can just amplify with just the right people around, you know what I mean? Or just even him himself, he just, he cooks up. So, I mean, whether I'm in the room and I'm doing fashion or whether he's on the boards cooking up, it don't matter. It's just going to go.
It's a fact. I actually made my first beat the day he made his first shirt. It's a fact.
What was that day like, man? You gotta give us a play-by-play now.
Man, I think we just, regular day, second semester of Albany. We finna go back home.
Oh, you went to Albany?
Yeah,
Okay.
for a year. Yeah, shout out to all the people I met down there, up there. Met a lot of cool, dope people up there. But yeah, you know, regular day. Probably get a little smacked. You feel me? We went to the store, copped some thread. He just went to work. He had a sewing machine in the room. I had my laptop. We just started the process there.
I think it was really that we knew that we were bigger than where we were. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
We weren't necessarily, like, we enjoyed the people and everything, the environment, but it was bigger than that. Like, the vision that he had, he wanted to do music. Albany's not necessarily music school, you know what I mean? No. It's just the place to pop. Like,
college in general. You feel me? Yeah.
That's actually what I was going to touch on a bit next, because college is definitely a big link these days in New York. Because this hat that I'm wearing right now, that's my roommate's brother's link, and the co-host that I'm with right now, they're about to come in a bit. Make sure you tune into Not Gonna Lie and the Lunch Table podcast. They're gonna drop as well.
Yes.
Those are my college roommates as well. So a lot of people they might try to make it seem like it's a scam or things like that, but I think a lot of the relationships that are built in college are really a beautiful thing, and you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about your craft, because it forces your hand a bit. So what was a bit of the maturation that you guys had during that 1 year?
Well, I'll never shit on college. It all depends on what you do with it. College can be very constructive, but when it came to us, we just had a clear vision, and it just hit us that, you know, this situation is not going to blossom into the result that we both were talking about and plotting on. So we kind of just took it within ourselves to go back to the city, which is like a land of opportunity for both of what we're chasing, and just build a name in our respective like endeavors from there.
Right. Now, building a rapport with a lot of those people, I don't know if there was a bit of a hesitation at first. Some people, they might look down on you. You know, you might have started it, and not even just because of the fact that you didn't go to college, but you started something and didn't finish it. So what was a bit of a way that, did you ever have to really prove yourself, is what I'm trying to say, to, you know, some of the people that were able to give you a hand in this process or were with you in the process?
At first I felt like that. I did want to kind of do it for my parents just because they like invested so much in education. But at the same time, I was learning through my internship and I was progressing in my career at the same time.
Right.
So it's kind of like you kind of doing what a graduate would do in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just started my career early. If you graduate with an engineering degree, you still have to intern.
Right.
So I just, you know, by the grace of God, I had a way of getting into a studio, and I just used that, worked hard, and learned everything I had to be a recording engineer, and that's how I built a rapport with artists. You have to like prove that you could work on the music too, and I think engineering is a good opportunity to do that.
Right. Now, how were you able to market yourself to some of the artists that you built the synergy with? Because I see that you have a lot of songs with Diora. You know, you have a rapport with Flea. So just talk a little bit about that.
Me and D just cool, you feel me? You gotta just be like, being just a cool person helps too. You don't want to be a weirdo as a producer and do weird things like leak songs and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, I'm just a cool dude. So, you know, building a rapport with artists on a personal like tip is not really like a challenge to me. But from a sonic wave, I just try to bring a sound that they can't really find anywhere else. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if you have a sound that speaks for itself, you're gonna go far, definitely, because there's no other source for the wave you're bringing.
Yeah, I see you have a different way of using bells in your songs. Is that a bit of your favorite instrument?
Yeah, bells. I like things to just, you know, bounce around the mix, whether it be the drums or whatever. I like pads a lot too. I like just playing chords and putting drums over it. Like, that's one of my favorite things to do, having a pianist background. And you know, I have a Kanye West influence, and I've played in bands with saxophone. So, you know, I try to do a little bit of everything: the orchestral, the psychedelic, the trap heavy, the traditional, even sampling too. Try to have my hand in every like pot musically.
Do you do live instrumentation on your tracks from time to time?
Yeah, I've done some saxophone stuff. It's really expensive to record piano, and the one in my crib is like out of tune, so I don't even want to do that. I only use that for like IG videos and stuff. But yeah, further down the line, when I'll have more dedicated time and funds to invest in my sound, I'm definitely gonna be recording piano and like synthesizer.
Right. Have you always kept it a little bit simple when you make a beat? Like, do you ever not want to overcomplicate it, or starting off? You know, was it a bit of, all right, I'm gonna show out?
Yeah, I was definitely overproducing in the beginning, but you playing an overproduced beat is like the rapper is just like, okay, wow. You feel like the reaction is different from a beat that just doesn't bang hard enough. It's like, this is making me uncomfortable, dog. Like, stop playing this shit. So yeah, I just, I focus on the artist having a like space to, express themselves lyrically. I don't want the musical aspect of the song or the sonic aspect of the song to be just my production and his voice trying to find a pocket. I want there to be a like clear overall direction of where the track is going from a vocalist standpoint.
So do you look to build the song around your own sound and kind of make the artist find his way around it, or do you have a happy in between of kind of doing it, a nice balance of, all right, I could hear this guy on it, but this is also me?
I just try to, I feel like you're gonna do that by default, just because you're the one making the beat. You feel me? So, I don't really take into account trying to force my imprint in there. I just want to give the artist a space to just express themselves. They chose the beat, so it must have done something right. So that's enough of a mission to accomplish for me and every other producer involved, because you're working against you're going up against more like talented producers. Artists could have like 15 different producers sending beats. You do want to make your stamp, but you're going to do that naturally, just off you expressing yourself authentically.
Right. Now when it comes to really building a pocket with the artist in the studio, what's a way that you've been able to, what's the way I'm trying to express this? What's the way, has there ever been a time where you kind of didn't really see eye to eye at first, but you guys kind of clicked afterward?
No, because I really operate within I just play my role. You know what I mean? If it's not that, all right, something else. Feel me? I'm not going, if it's not, it's just, at that point, it's not natural anymore. I'm trying to convince you to fuck with some art that you don't fuck with. Like, you feel me? Like, let's just, on to the next beat. Let's get some other vibes. You tell me what you feeling, and I might match you there, and we might create something super dope. Why shed on one idea? You know what I mean?
Have you ever had to keep something in the vault just because the verse was trash?
Nah, I really like all the songs I've produced. Like, not even on some I like the beat shit. I just feel like I have a pretty cool discography. Hasn't been a song yet where I'm like super dissatisfied.
Now, do you take the precautions to research the artist before you go out and collaborate with them? Like, do you really want to study their sound at first, or has there ever been a time where you kind of didn't hear the artist at first, and then you got to the studio and it was like, all right, this is different. Like, I like it.
I just do the research I do is from my own sound, not really to work with artists. You know what I mean? I think that goes back to what you were saying before about like expressing myself, like making a way to like making an effort to express myself through a song. I think I make all that effort in making the beats before playing for the artist. So it's like I'm offering you my sound and let's match up together and make a song. You know what I'm saying?
So you're not really a fan of building the beat on the spot in the studio. You'd like to.
No. I'm down for anything.
Okay.
Down for anything. I'm definitely gonna be making beats on the spot. A lot of the times doing live instrumentation, sitting with the artist. I like when an artist is able to be like lower. Feel me? And I could play off that. And we just bounce off each other. Like, I'm not gonna be stubborn in the process. It's not my song. You gotta play your role.
Right. That's
very. But true. It is my song in a way. Yeah.
Yeah. But as far as, stepping into the studio and seeing it more from a business aspect, starting off as an engineer, more so in I'm not going to call you an employee because that's not what you are.
Nah, in that sense I am.
If you want to call it that, I didn't want to do
facts
it.
Facts are facts. You know what I mean? Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. But
it's another misconception.
But doing it that way, what were some of the things that you kind of had to learn, all right, this isn't really how it works, or, well, I'm kind of something that you kind of got jaded over in a sense, if there was that.
It wasn't like it was more like, oh, this is what they're doing. Like, I didn't really have a disclosed image of what goes on. I kind of just wanted to find out for myself. And once I found out certain things, like little ego clashes with like studio owners and managers, shit like that, you follow that. And, you just gotta build that mutual respect. Once you operate in mutual respect, nothing can go wrong from a personality standpoint, or should go wrong. You
Right.
feel me? But yeah, I've had some problems like with like just navigating through authority.
Right. Now, when it comes to building a platform for yourself, what are some of the things that you guys envision for the future as far as, as I mentioned before, keeping it autonomous, whether it's with the fashion, with the music? Do you guys want to, say, start a production house within yourselves?
Um, I don't know. I feel like I would have to make a certain stamp on my own to even consider that.
Right.
But right now, me and bro, we're interested in a lot of different things like app developing, black tech, movies, uh, more making them than starring in them.
Yeah.
We are different. We're very well-rounded people, so you never know what we're up to.
Okay. All right. Now, when it comes to kind of seeing into the future, what are some of the seeds that you've planted as far as, all right, this idea is pretty solid and we can see it developing from here. But what are some of the ways that you kind of uh, plan ahead?
Well, you just always throw ideas out and conceptualize, and if the idea is good enough, you kind of just start talking about the best way to realistically do it by default.
Right.
This podcast shit is wavy, but it's like a pace you have to keep.
Yeah.
You feel me?
I'm usually behind the camera too. Before I was not in the studio or anything like that. I was the one behind the camera, but I had to get in front of it because when in Rome, do as Romans do.
And that's just like music, bro. There's times where I've been forced in the chair. I was like, yo, Dave East is in there. Someone got to record him. And then,
right.
Once you get an opportunity, you never know what you can make out of it. You could build a lifetime relationship off getting pushed in the chair. So you rise to the occasion, bro.
Definitely.
You did something right. You feel me?
That's for sure, man. But as far as I don't know. Like I guess as I was mentioning with planning ahead, so you really want to just take it one day at a time before you really, visualize the grand scheme.
You're gonna stress yourself out trying to project month by month or year by year. You don't accomplish what you want in a year. You're gonna end up, switching your perspective from what probably was a very productive year to like a disappointment because you had X amount of goals that you didn't meet that were probably unrealistic anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta take every session seriously. Every beat could be that beat. You just gotta, relentlessly express yourself at the highest level every time. If you have that goal, it's swinging for the fences. You're gonna connect a couple times.
Right. And you had mentioned making a stamp earlier on. So what do you define making your stamp as?
Just building like a sonic influence, having a sound that is distinctive to me, or, just, collaborating with other producers and making great records that people love.
Right. Now, once you feel like you've made the stamp, because I'm sure everybody has a vision in their head of what it will be like. So to you, what would kind of be the next step after you've made the sound as far as really being a figure in not just production, but in the industry?
Right.
Yeah.
I think the next step would just be, getting more songs out. It's yet to be seen who I'm linking in, the type of sounds we create. So I guess, me and whoever is supporting me at the moment, shout out to them. Very grateful for everybody who's ever supported me so far. But it's like, yeah, I just gotta, make the art because it's yet to be seen so far. I want to see what I could do, and I think a lot of people do as well.
Right. Now, as far as SoundCloud, or not SoundCloud, Spotify, and getting your sounds out to different countries and getting different viewers, what are some of the tricks of the trade that you guys have learned as far as marketing yourselves as a producer? Because as I mentioned in a previous interview before, it's a bit harder to market yourself as a producer than it is to market yourself as a rapper.
But, I only put albums out to just, even like a long time coming, it was really just a portfolio of my sound because I wasn't getting records out consistently.
Right.
So, I don't like make my own music. So like I plan to just, get a space in the industry and like drop songs where like people could view them a lot and give exposure to artists that I'm working with in like Queens and like smaller artists, you know what I mean? I definitely never want to leave the underground completely dead and dry.
Right. Yeah, no, I think A&R is a bit of a dead art in a sense, just because I don't know, it feels that in a sense it doesn't happen until you already have a certified hit in a sense. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't say A&Ring is dead. There's definitely a lot of A&Rs that do a good job. It's still hard to find and weave through the talent because the label has to take a gamble on the artist. The artist has to recuperate this money, so you have to not only envision who's like talented. It's like who's gonna have a longer lasting stamp. It's not really It's like who out of all these people with 1 million views is gonna be the one to, you know, have a good run in the industry and like recuperate off what they signed for.
Right. Now, as far as the recuperation process, I know a lot of artists, they don't really, I don't know, a lot of people, they don't study on that, but it's basic knowledge. No, not basic knowledge at this point, but at this point, you've heard it so much that you should realize kind of the horror stories that go on. So what are some of the lessons that you might have, I don't know if you have anybody that might study under you or looks up to you because, that's just kind of how it goes,
Right.
Everybody's watching in a sense. So have you really kind of tried to spread that knowledge in a sense and trickle it back down to people that were in your position before?
People be in different circumstances, bro. I can't really judge what an artist takes, to be honest. You think, try to get the best amount of bread for your song in the best situation, but at the same time, there's people that have mouths to feed right now. The label offer you a certain opportunity. You just gotta take it, and you already believe you're talented, so you think you do it to the best of your ability, you're gonna be able to provide for yourself. It's like if a label offers you an opportunity, who knows if you're gonna get another one. I can't really knock an artist for taking a quote unquote bad deal.
Right. Now, do you feel that since you had a lot more industry experience or experience in the setting, do you think that a lot of people kind of come to you for that kind of advice?
Yeah, producers really come to me for advice, like for getting two artists. More so, that's like a more intermediate question. I feel like that's like a producer that has like a pending placement, is already like in the game and like wants questions of that caliber. But it's like, yeah, people just ask me, just the initial steps of getting into the industry, and I just, I definitely always give the most information I can to whoever I happen to get approached by.
All right. So what are some of the things that you got planned for the rest of the year, man? 2020 just started. It's hard to say that, but I'm sure you're a hardworking man. So,
man, I've been doing about like 5 to 8 beats a day. I'm just stockpiling beats, sending them out to A&Rs. I have have a couple songs in the vault. Might end up on certain albums. I can't really speak on it too much, but I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm working hard. Like, I feel like that's all I can do. That's the one constant of anything, regardless of what place I'm at in my career. I always got to wake up and punch the clock in. So that's really what I be focused on, for real.
All right. So no solid project pending for this year? Not yet?
I don't know. I always said I always thought in my head the next project I do would be like me having a standing in the industry. Like, I want Thug on my album and Gunna and produced by me. So yeah, I kind of want to wait a little bit, and yeah, kind of want to just prove myself within like working with artists rather than like trying to focus on a project.
All right. So right now you're just focused on building the beats on the low rather than just putting them out, just to be heard.
Yeah. Definitely want beats placed on like artists dropping them themselves.
Right.
Rather than me dropping on behalf of artists.
All right. As far as the merch too, nothing coming out?
We always just plotting on designs. When we do it, it's going to be 100% because we've been working on it so much. And, we always conceptualize jewelry ideas. We got all our chains and stuff like that planned out. Just not even on some like flexing things. We don't do it for that. We view jewelry as like an art form. So
right.
Definitely. He just copped his first piece, as y'all can see. Man, it's kind of shitting right now. He's the manager too. You know what I'm saying?
FK47,
big CEO.
Merch pieces, everything coming soon, man.
Coming real soon.
It's mainly just about getting him out there right now. I want the right image around him. I want him in the right rooms, and if it's viable as a business side of it, as the manager and also the producer of his, merch and etc. He's gonna have the most input, but it's like it has to make sense at the end of the day. You know what I mean? We need
definitely
more funds for more projects. Like we need, to get him in certain places. So that's where the focus for that comes from.
So are you guys believers of work smarter instead of harder, or
Absolutely.
rather than? Okay.
I mean, because
doing both.
Yeah,
at the highest,
time where we just
working at the hardest, at the smartest level.
Yeah,
basically.
So when you expand into different lanes, do you try to teach yourself a fundamental knowledge of that, or do you really just try to reach out to experts and kind of?
You have to start with the fundamentals in everything you do. The expert started with the fundamentals.
Right.
Facts.
All right. So just let everybody know where they can follow you on Instagram, SoundCloud, everything like that.
Yes. Follow me at FK47 _ on Instagram, because the person that has the FK47 with nothing was like 8 bands, and I was like, damn, bro, like for real. So yeah, follow me on Twitter at FK47 with 2 underscores at the end.
Yeah, man, it's kind of crazy having to buy Instagram name
yeah,
back.
but I'm gonna get a label machine to kind of,
we're gonna take care.
We're gonna take care of that.
Take care of that. That's nothing.
Swim with the fishes.
Right.
Nah, I'm playing.
We gonna do that, man.
As far as the clothing brand, man, where can everybody tune into that?
Like I said, man, follow me on Instagram at DIZONPR. That's Design PR, man. A lot of big shit coming. I mean,
that's a fucking fact. Now I'm playing.
We just gotta revamp, man.
Let's get it.
We doing it, man.
Thank you to everybody who's listening, man. For real, much appreciated.
Featuring FK47, man. Big up shit, man.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, now you dropped
down to the soul. The next great media outlet. You see the quality what's going on.
Adam 22, by the way.
Like that.
It's like that. But we're definitely building something big over here down to the soul, man. You guys have mentioned script writing and stuff like that. I'm definitely seeing the bigger picture with that as well. I'm keeping that in the raps, as well. But having like-minded individuals, it's definitely, it makes you comfortable saying that out loud too. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
But definitely appreciate you boys coming up here, man.
Appreciate you having me, man.
Of course, y'all know, man.
Right.
My guy.
Listen, down to the soul. It was another episode of Mixed Minds. Like, comment, subscribe. Keep in tune for FK47. Long time coming. It's definitely out right now on iTunes and Apple Music.
Get
Spotify.
that everywhere. Right YouTube now, too. DPRC coming with the heat too. Watch and see.
Definitely, man. All right, stay in tune for the next episode. Artistocracy will be coming back too. Mixed Minds, we always got more episodes. If you're an artist, you want to come up here, definitely just holler at me. As this man did, don't be afraid to shoot your shot.
Don't be afraid. Get your content on. I'm getting my content on. You feel me?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna stop.